coming into this, it's pretty hard to see what they could do with particularly the Evo, because it was such a good bike. It's won so many awards. It's such a well-liked bike. The fact that they've managed not to screw it up, but actually significantly improve on it, is just absolutely awesome.
My name's Guy Kestevan. I've been a professional bike and kit tester for over 27 years, and this is my live ride review of Specialized Stumpjumper 15 Pro. Designed to be the one bike that rules all trails with an all-new magical Fox Genie shock.
So, welcome to Stumpjumper 15. That's right, 15th bike in the Stumpjumper family since the launch of the original, one of the first production mountain bikes in 1981. And the interesting thing now is that rather than two Stumpjumpers, so standard Stumpjumper and Evo, you've got a single bike. So in the worlds of the Spice Girls, to become one. But Specialized have worked super hard to get this to be a bike that fills the roles of both those previous bikes. And they've primarily done that through a brand new Fox shock they're calling Genie. So, let's get the basic stats out of the way. 145mm rear travel, so that's almost as much as the Evo, but significantly more than the Stumpjumper. So they were 150, 130 respectively, and then 150mm fork, and it runs straight 29er or mullet. And today I've actually got it in mullet. It sizes S1 through S2 come with mullet standard, S3 through S6 double 29 as standard. But that's just a linkage change away from being done, and then you've got a whole lot of other geometry changes, just like the previous Stumpy and Stumpy Evo. I'm on a Stumpy with a Genie, baby. Come on, give it me. Because as the marketing blurb goes, it gives you 3 wishes. The plushness and control of a coil shock, better bottom out damping than a conventional air shock, but a completely tunable mid-stroke chamber for a really playful, poppy feel, if that's what you want. It does that by having a whole other secondary extra volume sleeve around the outside of the shock, which is open for 70% of the stroke, providing maximum volume, and then closes for the last 30% to give you progressive ramp up and support at the end of the stroke. And it was interesting, riding yesterday, before being told what the travel was on this bike, I would easily have guessed this is a 160 bike, not a 145 bike, because it really soaks up bigger stuff like that, like a much longer travel bike. And actually, interestingly, Specialized have done a load of stats tracking on this, and it actually uses the same amount of travel for a 100mm for a given bump as the Enduro, compared to just 86mm for the Evo. So it has got a really nice, deep, plush, bottomless coil feel through the center and off the top, but still loads of support through the mid-stroke, and I'm actually playing around with different amounts of spacers in the shock now. Had it with 1, which is kind of the default setting, and now moved to 4, so it's basically fully packed as it is now. Ha! It's really interesting, the ride feel difference. That feels really kind of lifted and on point, quite focused compared to the more open volume shock, as you'd expect. So geometry is, comes stock with a 64.5 degree head angle, but you can change those headset cups, and then the ride height of the bike to give you between 63 and 65.5. It's a huge range of adjustment there. And then you've got a really low bottom bracket, even a standard 337mm, but in the low position 330mm. That's proper slammed, which explains why it really loves to get low in the corners, especially in this mullet setup, which obviously changes the geo again, or you can just change that chainstay chip to even out the geometry between wheel sizes. And then you got 435mm chainstay length at the shortest on S1 through S4, and then S5 and S6 get 445, and then really short 425mm seat tube. But one thing Specialized have really concentrated on with this bike is to increase the dropper post stroke compatibility, so you can get a longer dropper post into the Stumpjumper 15 than you could the previous bikes, especially on the small sizes. So not only is it really tunable in terms of shock feel, but also geometry. I mean, properly class leading. It really is, this bike, in terms of, certainly on a trail bike. There's maybe some downhill bikes where you can do as much in terms of tweaking if you're lucky enough to be a factory rider. In terms of doing stuff literally at the trailhead, this Stumpjumper is amazing. Amazing. Sound like Rob from the UK.
Amazing, mate.
Thank you.
Right, so obviously I should shoot this properly with the engineers, somewhere well lit, with with a nice view.
Forget it now though. When I forget later, I won't be as traumatized.
So you can see the outer sleeve, that Genie sleeve has come off now. You can see there's a single spacer in the chamber, and now you just clip another two-piece spacer on.
Amazing to have some of those guys.
They just clip together, and like I say, you can put up to 4 in those to completely fill that chamber. Just line it up. I don't know if that really matters, but it certainly looks pretty. And then you literally just slide the aircon back on. It's not a screw on. It just secures. Obviously, you need to get the logo lined up there so it all looks neat on the pictures. Give it a quick wipe. I mean, you shouldn't lose any significant amount of oil. And then circle it on, push the shock can down into place, make sure it's all secure, and you're literally ready to go.
And I'm on 2 rings now. Whoa! That was faster than I've hit that. Yeah, I gave myself a scare there. Don't mind admitting that. Yeah, interesting. Just didn't sink in as much. Because that 0 can, super plush, kind of coil feel. Whereas with the 2, and it does that. And 4 in, it's really stiff. Kind of more of a berm pusher. this is quite a nice balance. Still got some feel through my feet. Kind of hustles better through the pedals as well. Anyway, one thing I haven't talked about is spec. It's quite interesting because standard spec is kind of quite trail. You know, you've got grid trail tires, not grid gravity. T7 eliminator on the back for speed. But and the really light Traverse 2 wheels from Spec, which are superb wheel set. Been running them for a year now. Great feel, really good anti-puncture protection in the rim design as well. But then on top of that relatively lightweight trail spec, kind of goes with the 145mm travel. Then got the new mega powerful SRAM Maven brakes and EXO transmission, but with, you know, that big bash guard segment on the base of the chainring. So that's a pretty burly setup, really. Oh, this rails nicely. Haha. You. So, you know, again, kind of modern trail biking, isn't it? Stumpjumper 15 is a beauty. Plus, I love the colour. You know, which is a big thing when you're choosing a bike. Because I haven't even shown you like an up-close detail on the bike, so probably going to shoot that separately if you just want more of a conventional static talk round on the bike. I'm more specialised. I've done this traction stats on the descents in terms of breakaway. So you can get 57% more traction in terms of grip, or in terms of, basically they measured it by putting speed sensors on both wheels. So you could tell when the rear wheel was slowing down more than the front, which meant it broken traction. That also means pretty good traction on the climbs as well. In fact, let's rephrase that. It means excellent traction on the climbs as well. Penalty, a little bit more bounce, as you'd expect, if you're insisting on stair mastering it out the saddle, because you've got, you know, a more fluid mid-stroke if the can's fully open. But again, you can tune that with your Genie rings. And they've also evened out anti-squat between Evo and Stumpjumper. So looking at a range of 113 to around 75, depending where you are in the cassette. So you got a nice positive pedaling feel. Very similar to Evo SL, if you're a pervert and turn the motor off on that. And then frame weight is pretty much a wash with the old Evo, because they've had to get rid of sidearm, that asymmetric strut, to make room for the Genie can. But managed to find the stiffness elsewhere, because they didn't want to actually change the dynamic feel. So it's fractionally stiffer in the main frame, but otherwise unchanged. What they have done is they've altered the stance of the shock driver link. So that's narrower than it was on the Evo, which means same overall stiffness. It's not double-sided either. So that means same overall stiffness, but less side loading on the shock. So your Genie should stay happy in his bottle for longer. I'm on 3 rings now. Oh, this feels nice. I'm liking this. This feels like this is the sweet spot for me. High line, cutting in. Way too late. Certainly with 3 rings in, it's not bellying out as much as you'd expect. I mean, in a sense, this is actually using that Genie shock less. Way, knuckles through the grass. And yeah. But then I guess The nice thing is this is great when the trails are supportive. You've got loads of grip. It's pretty firm. So traction's not a massive issue. And if definitely pedal better. But then if you need that kind of extra succulence, sensitivity, then yeah, it definitely comes up shorter on that. But I mean, the bottom out performance is exceptional on this bike. I think specialization like 6.3% better at avoiding severe bottom out trauma or something, but just feels really controlled over a range of bumps. And having playing with that shock all morning, just gives a real sense of, I mean, basically you have got everything from like standard volume inline to full on coil shock vibe. I mean, I've got the switch down to tops a couple of minutes now. Done every change myself, no problem at all. And again, just that versatility really adds another level to this bike. And before you ask, no, you can't fit this shock to an existing Evo because of that side arm frame. It just physically won't fit in there, which is a shame. So that would have been an awesome value hack. But I'm back on twin 29er now. Still got the 3 volume spaces in. Yeah, by choice I'd probably go maybe less spaces on this. It's a little bit choppier. Oh, but you know, it pops nicely. It's just a really, really predictable, consistent bike. I have to say, I'm glad of the Mavens now as well. I was thinking it might be a little over brake with these on, but you just have to use such little effort. It's so easy on your hands with these brakes. Regular viewers may recognize Mr. Alan Cook from the epic footage, X Games champion, all round rad dude. Always an honor and an exciting time following that man. Come on, oh come on Kestevan, you old man. And as well as this version with the Genie shock, there's also a coil shock bike with O-lins, front and rear, and that comes mullet as standard. So that's your proper like jibby play bike option. But this bike feels so good with like the fully open session on this Genie shock. I'm not sure you actually need that coil option. Plus the whole kinematic on this bike has been worked out around this Genie shock. Talking to Steve, design guy, they're really happy with where the Evo was dynamically. And I totally agree with that. Okay, I'm not holding that wheel. Dude is ripping it. And you've got all the previous Stumpjumper goodness in an even more evolved form as well. So you've got SWAT 4 internal storage for all your pork and pastry, spares, jackets, you know, and other essentials needs, but with a lighter, cleaner, better sealed hatch mechanism. And they've tidied up the frame armour all the way through. Plus you've got really neat internal, but not headset routed, cable routing. So no dramas when it comes to servicing. The fact that they've managed not to screw it up, but actually significantly improve on it, is just absolutely awesome. It's genuinely outstanding in the way it performs. Such a good pairing. This proven chassis, this new shock tech. Ha! Stumpjumper 15 is a beauty. But Hell yeah. Man, you vanished.
I got it.
That was like Super 8 Sasquatch film. It's like, I saw something for a minute. If anything, one limiting factor, really. This 36 fork. Grip 2 damper, so it's not the new X damper. But it's not, you know, anything serious. It's not like, you know, when you're on the Druid and that's really pushing it super hard, but definitely got its work cut out. Time to get my ass handed to me by G again. So in summary, in many ways, not massively different to what you can already get with the Stumpy Evo in terms of capability at the extreme end, but a little bit tighter in terms of the way it feels on the trail, and with a whole load more shock adjustability to go with that geometry adjustability. And it's so easy as well. And it really does make a dramatic difference to the bike in terms of, like, you know, whether it feels like a coil shop bike or whether it actually feels more like, you know, it's like a linear air can bike. And actually, for this kind of terrain, that's more what I've settled on. It's that kind of linear air cam feel. So you're still getting plenty of pop from that 145mm back end, and plenty of support when there's a lot of grip and the trail's kind of helping you around the turns anyway. So yeah, definitely a quantifiable upgrade on the Evo in terms of that whole extra tier of adjustability, and a way better bike in my opinion than the Stumpjumper straight bike. That bike should have been perfect for me on paper, but never really felt like that on the trail. Whereas this bike feels absolutely awesome. Just feels like, oh, it just feels like loads of different bikes really, but at the same time feels super familiar, consistent, predictable, all those things you want in a bike when you're pushing hard on technical trails or just having the fun on the flow stuff. Plus I love the colour, you know, which is a big thing when you're choosing a bike.
So there we go, packed a whole ton of testing into 2 days. Some fantastic riding out here on Vancouver Island. Absolutely stunning trails. So massive thanks to Specialized for flying us out here for the launch and for giving us access to the engineers and all the crew behind the design of the bike. It's always great to get real insights from the guys behind the bike. I'll also do a separate tech talk around on this bike so you can get up close on the features on the frame, the actual aesthetics of it, the practical details and the componentry spec. But, you know, massive thanks to my industry supporters. Their names will be listed at the end. So if you guys could support them in the same way as they support me, that would be massively appreciated. Just for the record, Specialized haven't paid anything towards this video. And massive thanks to my loyal subscribers on Patreon who pledge a small amount every month, but that makes a massive difference to how much time I can spend talking to you on a GoPro. But so if you really like what I'm doing on the channel, please consider supporting me on my Patreon page, and there's a link at the end of this video. But click for subscriptions, click for notifications if you haven't already. Give it a thumbs up like if you've enjoyed seeing this new Stumpy 15 on the trails. and tell your mates about the channel if you've enjoyed watching it, because that's by far the best way for this channel to grow, is your recommendation. But for now, I've been Guy Kestevan on Guy Kes TV, riding the truly outstanding, multifaceted, multi-adjustable, one bike fits all trail machine that is the new Specialized Stumpjumper 15 Pro.